everybody, Courtney here, coming in to do kind of a free-form chat. This is something that has been on my mind a lot, but I haven't really scripted it, nor do I script my videos very much anyway. I usually have highlights. But today I wanted to talk about some mindset things that I think keep people stuck and keep people from making progress forward. And these are 3 sayings that I've written down over the past couple of days that have kind of come to me in different conversations, and I wanted to share them with you. I can't always give credit to who said them first. This one I don't even know, I've heard it my whole life. Comparison is the thief of joy. And I think that that is so true. And I think that when we compare ourselves to someone else, it's really easy to feel like we're doing less than, like we're not enough. And not to say we should look at people who are doing worse off than us, like someone who's really struggling or homeless. But if we're looking at someone on social media who looks like they're really great and doing wonderful, it can make us feel like we don't have as much. And we don't always know what's really going on behind the scenes. Most of us with any kind of emotional intelligence at all aren't airing our dirty laundry out, on the camera. So I think when we compare ourselves to where others are, it's really easy to get stuck and to use that as an excuse of, well, I can't because, or we think that person had it easy. Recently, about 3.5 years ago during the pandemic, I had decided I had been vegetarian off and on for long periods of time, eating eggs and milk and things like that, but no meat. For most of my life, and I decided to go completely whole food, plant-based, vegan for a multitude of reasons, but the health is what pushed me over the brink finally. And during that time, I lost 34 pounds. Well, since I've quit my job and I've started working out more, and since we can socialize more, these days I've put back on 6 pounds, and I run a plant-based group. And it's been really hard for me because I feel like I'm really trying. I'm doing all the things, but I can't seem to manage that 6 pounds. And the truth is, I heard a lady the other day who's also like an influencer in the plant. I'm not an influencer, but she's an influencer. And I love her. She's probably 58 years old. And she's been plant-based for 8 years. And she said, I've recently gained 6 pounds and this is what I'm doing. And so it really helped me kind of go, you know what? I'm not alone. I'm not worse than other people who've been able to maintain their weight through a plant-based diet. I just happen to have all these different scenarios. I'm going out to eat more. I've gotten a little bit more comfortable. I'm home more, so I'm cooking a lot more. I'm probably boredom eating, to be truthful, a little bit more. And I had 2 doctors tell me to try to increase my omegas because of neurological problems that I was having from my illness. And that, in fact, kind of put some weight on me because those are high-fat products. So if I looked at like the other vegan influencers who are building muscle and they're super thin, I might compare myself and say, well, I'm just not doing enough. It's easy for them, but that keeps me stuck. That keeps me not being proactive with my health. So I'm trying to ask myself, what have I done? What have I changed? And we can apply this to money. We can apply this to health. We can apply this to relationships. But what am I doing differently that has caused me to gain this weight? And if I'm real with myself and I look at the facts, that's the only way I'm going to make those changes. So, and the truth is, 6 pounds isn't that much. I'm still a healthy weight. However, 6 pounds turns into 8 pounds, turns into 10 pounds, turns into 15 pounds, and I am 52 years old, and I don't want that to get out of hand as I get older. So don't compare yourself to others. You really don't know what their journey is. And I haven't even shared that other than to say I've gained a little bit of weight on my plant-based group. So other people may be looking at me and feeling like, well, she's tiny, and I want to be like that, not knowing that I'm struggling too over here. So the next one is luck is preparation meeting opportunity. So recently, one of the reasons that my husband and I have gotten ourselves from, I'm not going to say I was in poverty because I had my 401k when I divorced my husband, but my income was only $15,000 a year. So income poverty. I had done a lot of things right. I didn't even realize I was doing them right when we started investing when we were 29 and 30. However, I just didn't have a lot of money. But over time, when we divorced, when I was 40, I did all the things I talk about on my channel. I got debt free. It was so slow. And I feel like because I prepared, because I got myself debt free, that when opportunities came along, we were able to take advantage of those. And so for instance, I decided that I would save a year's worth of income before I closed my school. It took me 3 years to do that. It took me 3 years. And over that 3 years, I finally saved a year's worth of income. I had already had 6 months when I set that goal, because I had been saving for about 7 years at that time. So I had been building an emergency fund, and then beyond my emergency fund for what we call Freedom Unlimited money. Sometimes that's called FU money, which yes, it can mean the other. But I was preparing. Also, I sold a car, and I had an extra vehicle that we have, it's hard to explain. We have a work truck, and I kept that money and I saved it for when a car came along. But it took me years and years and years. I was not a high income earner. My husband and I did not make over, we were making closer to 60 to 80. But when we met, he was in bankruptcy and we were making like 33 together. It took us a long time. My husband is a workaholic. That actually has helped our financial situation. It's not good for him mentally, but I have said to him, we will make it work. We will figure it out. You don't have to work so hard. But he just is one of those people who's just go, go, go. Now, I'm not so much a workaholic, but fear motivates me. And so when I was a single mother, I was working every day, 28 days a month. I only took 2 days off, but I only traveled. I took 2 to 4 days off, depending on when my kids were with their father. 2 of my kids were one was 18 and one was almost 18. One was 16 and one was 14. So when we got divorced, my kids could stay by themselves for a little while, or they would go to their friends and things like that. So I was working quite a bit just to support us. And I only had one good year where I made like over 50,000. The rest of the years I was making like 27, and with child support and spousal support, that was only because the kids were older. So I only was getting child support on a couple of them. I was maybe making around 42,000 a year. And so I just I bought things used. I lived on a very low income, but I saved and saved and saved. So when that good used car came around, I could pay cash for it. When we were ready to buy this house, my husband was on the same trajectory with me with his savings. But we had to earn more income. We had to work more. Sometimes you're going to have to earn more income in order to save more. That might mean working more. That might mean raising your prices. If you're a subcontractor like my husband and I are, I recently raised my prices for classes. I used to be $10 a class. I'm now $15. My individual sessions, I used to do like $60 to $70. Now I don't do them for less than $115. So, I raise my prices. Sometimes we could raise our prices a little bit to pay down debt or to start investing. I did not open a 401k for my husband, or I opened an IRA for him until he was 61 years old. So we have to start where we are. Yes, we need to reflect on the past to see why we got where we are so we don't repeat those mistakes. And we've all made them, y'all. So many of us don't know. You don't think about your future 65-year-old or 55-year-old self when you're 25 or 30, but by the time you hit 40, you start going, oh no, now I'm 20 years into this, and in 20 more years, I'm gonna wanna start thinking about retirement, so I gotta figure this out. So a lot of people, if they don't think about this early, they start thinking about it around their 40s, and they start getting a little panicky. So preparation, luck is preparation meeting opportunity. So for me also, in my career as a yoga therapist. I started out as a yoga teacher. I taught for 7 years. I did not care. There weren't a lot of credentials back then. There was a 200 hour and a 500 hour. And that was the level of training you had, okay? So that you went to 200 hours of training or 500. I got my 200. I taught for 7 years. I was making grocery money. I was happy. I was going along, and then they started a new credential and then another credential, and that allowed me to expand, but I was ready. I just kept showing up to work. I always had a love for the therapeutic aspect of yoga, especially people who had disabilities or special needs, whether those were special health needs or true like a disability. So I studied that and I taught those workshops and I trained people to do those things. So when the yoga therapy license or certification came along, I was able to grandfather in because I had studied that for so long. I had done all the things. So I had over 10,000 hours of training and education at that point. So if we just keep learning and keep doing what we enjoy, and we keep saving and we don't have debt, when opportunity arises, we will have that luck. And a lot of times what we think is luck is really that someone worked for many, many years. Start today, no matter how old you are, start today doing the things you need to do. And the last one is, this is accredited to Bill Gates, that we often underestimate what we can do in 2 years and overestimate what we can do in 1 year and underestimate what we can do in 10 years. It took my husband and I 10 years approximately to go from broke, bankrupt, two single parents struggling, to about 9 to 10 years before we were financially independent, meaning we have enough money in our investments, in our home, and in our savings that if today we decided we could not work again, we could live off we could sell our house and downsize, and we could live off the interest or the money being earned on our investments with his Social Security and pension, okay? So we purposely got out of debt so that we could do that, but it took us 10 years. So there's two main things I want you to remember and take away from this. It's what you do consistently that matters. Saving consistently, even when it feels like a drudgery. Be mindful of your groceries, saving 10% across the board on things that are variable expenses and saving that 10. We ended up getting to a point where we saved 50 to 70% of our income, because as our income grew, we put that money in savings and in investments. And obviously everyone who owns a house pretty much in the past 10 years has seen an increase in the value of their house. So you have to just focus on, okay, this is what I did. I don't want to repeat that if it didn't lead me down the road where I want to be today, but where can I be 10 years from now? And if you're much older and you're watching this, do not get discouraged. Do what you can today to make your life better in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years, in 4 years, in 5 years. If you're watching this and you're in your 60s or 70s, are you able to do a little part-time job? Could you sell your big house or your house and downsize? Could you possibly, find a little 10-hour-a-week job that would give you extra money if you're in debt? Are you able to do something extra? You have to think, what is in my control? Because when we blame and when we think someone else got lucky or they had an unfair advantage or whatever, we're taking the power off of what we can do and we're putting it onto them. Oh, well, I can't do that, or they had all these special breaks. So where do you want to be in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and reverse engineer that? If I want to have blank amount of money in 10 years, what do I have to do? A lot of people, they just look at, well, I make $50,000 a year. Well, $50,000 a year over 10 years is $500,000. So could you possibly get out of debt or earn a little bit more? Could you save $10,000 a year in a Vanguard index fund, which is a low fee index fund, not with a mortgage, a broker, not a mortgage broker, a financial broker. I do those myself to avoid the funds. Best thing I ever did, not telling you what to do, not a financial advisor. Anyway, y'all, take action. Think about your future self in 3 years, your future self in 5 years. At the age of 40, I decided I had to really think about my future self, and I got serious. And at the age of 50, we became financially independent. For my husband, he was 62. I was 50. So we are not comfortable financially independent. We would definitely have to make changes if we decided to quit working. But we know that we can live a fairly comfortable life in retirement at this point if we work another 3 years. So I hope this is helpful. Thank you for listening to my freestyle chat. Please like and subscribe if you find this helpful. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.